If we're dealing with the combination of two events, then we are talking about combined events or compound events. So combined or compound events. And when we are talking about combined or compound events, then we can make the distinction between an independent event, so independent events and dependent events. We are talking about an independent event when the occurrence of one event doesn't affect the occurrence of the other event. So events for which the occurrence of one event doesn't affect the occurrence of the other event. While that is different for dependent events. When we're talking about dependent events, the occurrence of one event does affect the occurrence of the other event. So those are events for which the occurrence of one event does affect the occurrence of the other event. So here doesn't affect, and here it does affect. Okay, let's check an example. So an example of an independent event, so of two independent events. For example, two spinners. In the one you have the three colors, and in the other one you have numbers from 1 to 5. Like though you can see the first spinner as the first event and the second spinner the second event. So we can say this is event B and this is event A. And we can see clearly that those doesn't affect each other. For example, getting a red in the first event doesn't affect anything in the second event, event B. While this is different for dependent events. So let's check an example there as well. Let's say we have a bag with 8 discs. We have like 5 blue discs and 3 yellow discs. Let's say I select first one disc, so that's an event A. I select one disc and then I select another disc. So I select one disc and then I put that on one side and then I select another disc. The disc that I selected in event A will affect the disc that I select in event B, because for example, let's say we have 5 blue and 3 yellow disks. So let's say that I select in event A, for example, 1 blue disk. So in that case, 4 blue and 3 yellow disks are left. And in event B, the probability to select the blue disk will become 4 out of 7. And the probability to select the yellow disk will become 3 out of 7. While for A, it was the probability to select the blue disk was 5 out of 8, and the probability to select the yellow disk was 3 out of 8. So because I selected the blue disk and I put it on one side, that affected the event, that affects event B.